Guys, we're going to go down the whole black bear rabbit trail on this episode, and you're going to dig it. Here we go. There exists a threat, from anti-hunting groups to politicians trying to give our land away, and we won't stand for it. Those vast western landscapes provide the space for our wildlife to thrive, and a place for hunters and anglers to fuel the fire that sparks their soul. In this show, we share our love of hunting, fishing, and conservation. Here, we provide the foundation to meet these threats through passion and the grit of the American outdoorsman. Welcome to the Western Huntsman Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of the Western Huntsman Podcast. This is Jim Huntsman, your host, and I'm coming at you from the Broken Tine Studio right here in rainy, wet, soggy Clark Fork, Idaho. And it's been raining for 48 hours straight, and I've got this big pond built up on the property here where you can't even walk through it. It's like halfway up my truck tire. It's pretty serious. So I'm hoping this rain lets off soon. Guys, I got a really good episode lined up for you today. We're, as I said in the beginning there, we're going to be talking a lot of black bear hunting, black bear issues. I've got a stone cold veteran Western Huntsman podcast guest on and a newcomer joining me today. But before I bring him on, I got a couple of quick announcements. The one thing I was hoping just to real quick ask you guys that if you love the show, if you like the show, you support the message, what we're trying to do and what we're trying to achieve out there, please help us out by sharing this episode or any other episode out there. You could take the episode and text it to a friend that you think would benefit from the show, or you could screenshot the episode post on Instagram and share that there. We just appreciate any help with that. We're trying to grow the show, and it really helps us when you guys help us with that. So with that, guys, welcome back Seth Watts and my new friend Matt Drake. Guys, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Yeah, it's good.
So, Seth, let's start with you, man. You've been on the show before. We talked black bears and some of the issues we're dealing with black bear hunting seasons. And last time you had all those geese in the background throughout the whole episode. It sounds like you're recording from the same spot this time, huh?
I'm pulling in there, and there's no geese, so you're not going to be hearing any talking in the background this time.
I was just thinking that too before we started.
Yeah,
I remember hearing those geese on that podcast.
Yeah, it was actually kind of cool. It was a good little background.
I know, it was pretty cool.
Especially now, back then, I think that was what was that, Seth? January or something? And
I think it was somewhere in that time frame, because I was still in the middle of planning my spring trip out there to Idaho, and so I think that's about what it was. It was January, February, maybe.
Yeah, I remember because I was jealous you were able to get somewhere because we were buried in snow, and we had no geese going off where I'm at, because it was just that dead winter quiet for weeks on end. And so, so Matt, you're down in Rigby, Idaho.
Yep.
This is the first time, not only on my show but on any podcast, right?
Yeah, this is the first for me.
I love it, man. I love being the first.
Yeah, me too.
It's awesome. Not in a weird way. I see where you can get your minds out of the gutter.
I got it.
Since
sometimes,
you are
sometimes your first will haunt you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, you never know, man. This can make or break you, Matt. You got to be super careful. You'll get canceled if you say the wrong thing or something.
Right, geez, watch what I say.
So, since this is your first time on the show, Matt, if you don't mind, give us kind of tell us who you are, where you're at, and what you're all about, man.
Yeah, I'm from Rigby, Idaho, like you said, and I've been baiting bears for about 14 years now, and yeah, that's my passion. That's what I like to do. I like to hunt bears. Anything bears, I like it.
So this is actually perfect timing because I have been having a heck of a time. We've had a super cold spring, and so the spots where I'm normally So where I'm normally baiting, when I say normally baiting, this is only my second year baiting. Really, it's only my third year hunting bears. So this is perfect timing because I haven't been able to get up to the spot where I had all those bears last year coming in.
Yeah.
And so I had to find a new spot temporarily, and I just set the barrel. Like literally was able to get to this spot a week ago. And I've sat it a few times. I don't really have anything hitting it yet, so this is good timing for us to chat because I have until June 30th, and you guys are experts, and I could be really picking your brain, figure out how to get some of these bears in, man.
Yeah, I mean that's some of the issue I've had this year. Even like last week, my pictures on my bait still had few inches of snow and. Just made it challenging this year to get the bears moving.
Yeah.
Like people think you just put a little food out and the bears come right to it. It's not true.
Well, and that perception is kind of what I got, man, because last year I set my first bait barrel and I set my trail camera on it. When I went back 2 days later. I was right in the middle of moving. We were selling our house, and I'm moving out, so I didn't have. It was just such a hassle. But anyway, 2 days later, I go back and check it, and I had bears on that barrel within hours of me setting it. And
really?
The difference. So I had this thing. Oh man, this is going to be easy. This is going to be super easy. Not the case. I set my, and of course, by the time this episode comes out, things might be totally different. But as of now. Yeah. I've had a little, I think I was telling Seth, I had like a raccoon-sized bear show up for a second, and that was it. So,
at least that was something, yeah.
Yeah.
Something. Well, I'll tell you from my experience this year with working with Matt and learning about the bait, because I mean, I've never baited before, I've never done anything, and that's kind of how Matt and I got hooked up was, through Instagram, and then we started talking, and we probably been talking for at least a year.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe longer, and just that was something I wanted to learn about, and everything Matt taught me and showed me while I was there and before I came and even after is, you put the bait out, yeah, maybe the bears come, but those bears are so freaking smart.
Yeah.
They know when you come and they know when you leave, and then they come in. So it's a game of cat and mouse. And we had a bear that would come in, and he was super selective on what he ate out of that bait. He would walk over certain things. I took some chicken up there, some chicken that I found in a dumpster next to where I was sitting. I'm like, I'm taking this to the bait, and
he didn't even touch it. We thought he would just go right to it, but
he didn't touch the chicken.
He walked right over it, and all he wanted the whole time was these chocolate peanut butter wafers. That was it.
No kidding.
So it was interesting to see how picky they are. And then, after I left, Matt's had multiple bears come in and hit that bait. I didn't get to kill off that bait, unfortunately, but it's amazing that, the perception, like you guys were just talking about, that people think you just throw food out and 100 bears are going to show up.
Yeah.
That could be the case, and it can't be the case. Matt struggled this year, and since I was coming out there, I could tell he was feeling the pressure because we'd never met in person, and he wanted it to be, a successful or at least see some animals, and that wasn't happening because of the weather. And then I think other things were, just the timing of the year. I think I was early.
Yeah, well, down there, how late does bear season go? Is it like the 15th or the 30th?
And so this year is the first year that it goes till the 30th, and it's for this reason right here,
Oh, gotcha.
It lets people hunt a little longer, where you get a late start. I mean, it was a month, I think, before I had a bear on that bait site.
It's so weird too because I've noticed, and we're kind of talking Idaho specific. Seth's over in California, and so, but Idaho specific, what Seth was talking about, the weather this year, and it's super different regionally. Like southeast Idaho has been way different than like southwest Idaho and the Panhandle and central. Everybody's kind of experiencing a little bit of a different experience in terms of how much snow we got, but I think it's consistently been wetter and cooler than most springs. Like I have a picture when I first got up to the site last year where I put my bait from May 7th. Here it is. We're recording this on June 4th, and I still can't get to that spot because there's these giant snowbanks across the tops of the passes. So it's just a big difference.
That was my one bear bait site that I had. I kind of just put it out in a new area because that's as far as I could get.
Yeah.
Because the snow levels are so high.
What? And it was amazing that so as I'm driving out there to Idaho this year, nothing had touched the one bait that Matt and I originally wanted to hunt. Nothing had touched it. No bears, and I'm not gonna lie, I was discouraged. I'm like, well, you know what, this is hunting. I'm still going out here. I'm gonna have a good time no matter what. But it was amazing that once one bear hits it, it's a trickle effect. It's like boom, it blows up. So once Matt had a bear hit that bait exploded with multiple actions. And then the second bait that he had going, he had a bear hit it, and he was showing me pictures, and I'm like, that bear, it's the right color. I want a jet black, but it's small. I don't want to kill Pookie. I want to get a mature bear, and so we had another bear the day I was driving out there, hit the bait that we originally wanted to hunt.
Seth, so you're cutting out just a little bit, buddy. Is there like a spot you're sitting, or are you plugged into something?
I'm not. Sounds like I got good service here.
Okay, there you go. Now you sound good. Good. Sorry about that.
No, good. A bear had hit the original bait that we wanted, and it was a good bear. So we put a lot of time into that bait, that bear, but he was all over the map as far as when he was coming in. But
just on that note too. I mean, like those bears come out of their den. They're not just gorging themselves. They might eat for a little bit and then roam off or come back a few hours later, or they're not just gorging themselves like in the fall.
I think where I was going with that is you just said that you were saying that you had one little raccoon bear hit that bait. I'm betting next time you check it, you have more than one bear that's hit it, and just because he's tracked whatever off on his feet.
Yeah, I put that powder down, that blueberry powder. I use the Batum 907 stuff all over popcorn, and I put that powder down all over the place around the barrel, and then I spray all if there's some brush around, I'll spray the heck out of that with this. It's another kind of blueberry spray scent. And
just a spray, yeah.
Yeah, and that stuff, it was money last year. I had all sorts of different bears on my stuff last year. That's why I really want to get up to that spot. Is that why you guys think, or how do you guys, Matt, talk to us a little bit about how you set up your bait barrel.
Yeah, so like my one spot, this 14 years in the same spot, and you hear people talk about having established bait sites. So, I think that puts you, at an advantage because some of those bears grew up around that bait, so I think they naturally just come check it, knowing every year there's going to be some bait there. But yeah, so I pick the same spot every year there, and yeah, like tons of scent, just like you said. I use Boarmaster, and same thing, spray the trees down, even in front of the barrel, so they can track it off.
Yeah. And
so that powder stuff you're talking about, Jim, is I wonder if that's similar to the stuff we were using made by Boarmasters, Matt. Do you think?
Yeah, I think I've seen it before. Yeah, same kind of.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is.
So
yeah,
take some of that. Take some of that when you're at the bait. This works.
Yeah,
for
we have
us.
a story about that.
Throw it up in the air and watch it carry off.
Uh-huh.
It made like a cloud of.
You'll have a bear come from that direction in 5 minutes.
We've seen that happen, haven't we?
So, walk us through, Seth. Walk us through your. Well, actually, I don't know, Matt. But before we get there, are you within the actual bait barrel itself? What are you using? Like popcorn, dog food, kind of thing?
Well, I mean, like I'll buy bulk, whatever I can get my hands on, before the season starts. Like years past, I think I bought 1,500 pounds of M&Ms, and
Jeez.
like this year I bought 2,000 pounds of trail mix, which has been an awesome bait because for one, they can't just sit and eat it.
Yeah.
Eat it because it's trail mix, so it's small, and yeah.
And
so
the trail mix that sounds super pricey though.
Oh yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, it was expensive, but
man, I like popcorn.
But I do use a lot of popcorn though,
just
because it's light. So
yeah.
I'm a mile hike in my one spot, and it's light.
Yeah.
Easier on you.
Yeah, for sure. And I just sprinkle that popcorn with that same the powder that I was telling you. I think Batum 907 calls it Sweet Surrender, and it's in the blueberry scent. And I'll put a little popcorn in there, and then I'll spray some of that in, and then I'll put more popcorn. And I'll just kind of layer it. And
yep.
I mean, whatever, it works.
Yeah.
Do you take any of that popcorn and spread it around the outside of the barrel?
A little bit. I also noticed that the local squirrel population will do that for me.
One thing that we kind of learned I learned when we're up there is if you take that bait, like the trail mix or whatever you're using, and spread it like in a giant circle around the bait, like 10, 15 yards around, when your bait barrel gets low, those bears will still come in because they got to pick it. They have to work for it to find it.
Yeah, well, that's a good idea. Okay.
So like the M&Ms that are down that fell in between the leaves or whatever, or the pretzels or whatever it is, whether it's popcorn, trail mix, or dog food or whatever your choice is, they're going to come in there and spend hours searching for it.
Yeah, one at a time. Yeah.
They get that
in. We learned that from Nick at Boar Masters was telling us that's kind of a trick that he did. And so when your barrel gets low, it's gonna make them come in, and I think they kind of have fun doing it anyways. It's
I think
just out there searching for
it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of a game to them, kind of thing, is what you're saying. So Seth, I got a question for you. So you're a bear killing machine, man, but this was your first time ever baiting for bears. Give us the rundown as to what like your perception and expectation of baiting bears was versus what the reality of it was.
Well, the longer I hunt bears, I want to, broaden the way I hunt them. I still want to try doing a hound hunt. I still want to do more of the baiting, because I can't experience that here in California. It's all, we don't have a spring hunt. We can't hunt with dogs, and we can't bait. So I'm limited here. And I don't know what my perception really was of baiting bears before I went, other than I knew it was going to be hard work. I didn't know it was going to be as hard as it is. The amount of time that Matt puts in packing bait, driving to his bait, checking it constantly, keeping it full. I think it's 10 times more work than, me running the amount of cameras I do. I mean, I don't even know how many miles he puts on, but I learned a lot, and my respect for people that bait bears has grown tenfold just because of the amount of work. I think that the perception that people don't think about, and I've had conversations with people on Instagram about this that message me and go, baiting bears is wrong and it's cheating or it's
I've gotten a few
whatever.
Of those.
And I'm like, listen, this is exactly what I say to them. I go, by baiting bears, it gives me the opportunity to select a bear that is mature. I'm able to pass on, a young bear versus an older bear, or a sow versus a boar. You can be selective. Now, that doesn't mean, you may only have one bear hit your bait, so you may not be able to be as selective as some, but, the amount of people that I know when they're out bear hunting, it's a oh shit moment. Bear, shoot, bang, dead.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's the same thing with, I think, that I would think after I hunt with dogs when I get to do that opportunity. Those guys get to tree a bear and be selective.
Yep, make a call whether or not that's the right bear. I'll give you a perfect story, like an example, and this is, I think, what people that sit on the Washington, Fish and Game Commission, or like the California Game Commission, or whatever, Wildlife Commission, whatever you guys call it down there. I wish all the states just had the same damn name for a fish and game agency.
Right.
It's confusing.
They used to be called Fish and Game.
I know. But
Fish and Wildlife now, because somebody didn't like the name game.
Well, it's so much more politically correct to call them wildlife than game. I mean, what kind of savage beast wants to call animals game animal? But I'll give you a great example, man. That bait I was telling you last year. If I was spot and stalking for this particular bear that first popped into view, I would have whacked her immediately. But I knew she was coming to the bait barrel, so I just sat there, because if she was coming to the bait barrel, I knew my wind was good. I would have had a better shot, right? And so I just sat there, and I don't know, 3-4 minutes go by, and she starts making her way. And at this point, I wasn't sure if it was a sow or a boar, making her way to the barrel, and then suddenly out pops two little cubs, chasing each other up the trees all around the bait barrel, and they were having a ball with this scent ball thing that the Batum folks sent me. Those things you hang in the tree. Those suckers were having a ball. It was like a playground to them, trying to get to this scent ball that I had hung. But because I was baiting, I was able to be patient enough to determine that this was a sow with cubs, where I feel like, and I don't know, I've never really been in this situation, but I would have been so excited, spot and stalk, or just still hunting or whatever, coming across that bear, I probably would have sauced her. You know what I mean? And so go ahead.
That totally reminds me. That situation reminds me of my first bear experience I had. I didn't have a bear tag, and I spotted this, beautiful giant bear in this tree. And as fast as I saw her, if I would have had a tag, I would have shot her. And as she took off out of the tree, a couple minutes later, I noticed two cubs.
Yeah.
So it teaches you, whether you're doing spot and stalk or not, be a little patient and watch for as long as you can before you make the decision to, pull the trigger or let the arrow fly.
Yeah.
And before I forget, when I talk to people on social media and we message back and forth about the baiting, most of the time after I tell them, hey, this gives me the opportunity to be selective and make the right decision, they usually change their mind and go, you know what? I never thought about it like that. Yeah. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So it's just another game management tool. It's just
just a younger bear too. Not only that, you can, more selective with, not shooting a younger bear. 3-4-year-old bear.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's nice for me, for a guy that doesn't have, like you, Matt, and you, Seth, you guys have all this experience hunting bears. I never really got into it. My focus was always, deer and elk, deer and elk, deer and elk. That's all I cared about until it was literally I started doing this show and I started getting all this information about bear hunting. And it was funny, too, because when I didn't bear hunt, I had bear tags in my pocket, and I would see bears constantly, man. I mean, I always ran into bears, and I'm like, man, if I shoot that bear, it's gonna mess up my my elk hunt or my deer hunt, whatever I'm out there doing, right? And it was always in the fall, but I'd see bears constantly. And as soon as I started taking bear hunting serious, I never see them now. Now, I'd chase them up a tree all the time, and I'd get under the tree and I'd kind of talk to them and, hey, bear, what are you doing up there? And I'd walk off and just leave them. And I never really cared until I started hunting them. And now I never see them.
They're smart. They're smart
they
animals.
They are, man. They know. They're like that dude's not going to shoot us. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. But I like what Seth was just saying. I had that perception, especially about like bear baiting or whatever. As a beginner, though, a new guy at this, I don't have a lot of reason to be selective or too picky with a bear. I should just have the mentality, let's just get a bear and have the experience kind of thing. But I'm not like that. Like, I want a good bear. My first bear, I want it to be a really good bear. I don't know that it's going to be a monster, but I'm not going to shoot a raccoon-sized bear either. And I don't know how. Do you guys have a recommendation? My buddy Jeff Morris, who's been on the show, he has this. He talks about, if the bear comes in, on all fours and it could basically lick the top of the barrel, that's a shooter. Do you guys have advice as to kind of how to field gauge size-wise, a bear, and what you look for to determine whether or not you're going to take a shot at it?
Well, I will say this from my experience. I've hunted Montana. I've hunted Idaho now, and I hunt California. The bears in Idaho and the bears in Montana are way harder to judge than the bears here in California, and it has to do with their hair. The hair on a bear out in your guys' states is 5 times longer, and so
really?
They're puffy. They're puffy. If you see a bear here in California and it looks big, it's big. I shot a bear in Montana a couple years ago that after I shot it and I got to it, I'm like, man, I don't know. Is that the bear I shot? Because I was shocked. And it was just, they're way different. And obviously it's the climate, that's so hot here that they can't have that long hair that it takes to survive in a state that gets extremely cold. So a bear that looks big in California, they're big. A bear back there can be, it's deceiving, at least to me. And I mean, I don't have a ton of experience.
It is for me too, man. Like I have a hard time, if I'm elk hunting and if I see horns on a deer or an elk, I know immediately generally what and I don't really care to score anything. I don't score my antlers or anything, but I use scoring as like a reference point. I could tell immediately if this bull is a 250 or a 300 or bigger. I could tell immediately on a buck if it's a 110 to 200, which I would probably faint and piss myself if I saw a 200-inch buck just because that's not the genetics here. But anyway, the point is with bears, I don't have that ability. I can't really gauge them unless they're like maybe against my barrel. So Matt, what about you? You got some words of wisdom on that?
Yeah, same kind of thing. Like I have my camera in the same spot every year, so with the second ring on the barrel, I can, if it's level with the bear's back, you can kind of judge and see how big that bear is, and just off your camera, off your, having it in the same spot and having those kind of field points where you can, see how tall they are.
I thought about
how big that.
I thought about, jokingly, I took my girls up to the bait site. And I told him jokingly that what we need to do is take a yardstick and kind of prop it up on the tree next to my barrel so that as the bear walks by it, I can tell how tall it is.
half of it might be hair.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. No, you know what? I think one way, if you have the ability to watch them, is how they walk, how their swagger, especially with a boar. A big boar is going to have a strut about him to where he's like, I'm the boss and this is my area. So sows not so much, but a big boar will have a walk about him to where.
And some of that has been game cameras. You know, you can turn them to video mode and you can see more of that.
Oh, that's a good idea. I should do that. I should turn mine to video mode.
Yeah, it changes the field big time.
You will not regret running video.
I've never done it that way. I've just always been it's just my dumb primal, simple mind. I'm always like, I just want the picture, and so every time I just always set it to the picture.
Right. Well, so if it's an area that you're not going to go very often, and your SD card could fill up, somewhat quick. If a bear sits there for a half hour, you're going to have 100 videos of them. But if you're usually a bait barrel, you're checking it somewhat consistently. So I would run video, because once I started running video, I never stopped, because some bears look identical in a photo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Once you start watching videos, they all walk a little bit different. They all act a little bit different. And so when I go through all my videos, I can pick out, nope, different bear. Oh, this is, I got a bear. I'm starting to name my bears, I got a Scarface that I watch.
I know. The Scarface one, dude, that one you texted me or whatever. Holy cow, dude.
Yeah, that was a big bear.
He is, that bear, put that on my Instagram yet, but he is, that bear, I'll bet you that bear's pushing 20 years old.
Yeah.
His face is just thrashed, and he's actually smaller this year than he was last year, and I have video of him basically at the same time, so I would love to put my hands on him, just because, at some point he's going to really start to struggle to survive. So I'd almost be doing him a favor.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
It's just, I don't know. You can learn so much from the videos, and just how they walk and how they stomp and how they just do some cool stuff.
Even if it's a 5-second or a 10-second video, it's enough for you to see that too.
I'm gonna check that out. I'm gonna try to do that because I'm going after we record today. I'm actually heading back up to my actually this is gonna lead to a question for you guys, but I'm gonna be heading back up to my bait site, and I'm gonna see if I could remember. I don't have the instructions to this particular. Oh, you know what? I do right here. Shoot, buried under all this shit on my desk. I found the manual to that trail camera. I've got like 4 different types of trail cameras up there that when I'm not running the reveals in service, I'll figure out how to set that. So that leads me to another question. It's been so the first part of earlier this week. Again, this is total ignorance on my part, but hopefully there's a lot of listeners out there that have the same kind of question. Earlier this week, it's been fairly warm, very mild, sunny, warm, kind of drying. I've been watching snow melt in massive numbers. And then 2 days ago, it started raining, and it basically hasn't stopped since, to include one hell of a lightning thunderstorm that came in last night. I got soaked last night sitting on my bait. It was a downpour. So the question I have, for me, I don't really care if it's raining. I feel like bears will hit it, but am I wasting my time, or are bears going to be coming in even in the rain?
I think I've killed bears in between storms too. Like if it lets off, it seems like they start moving again. But when it's raining, I think it just kills all the scent everywhere. So they kind of just hunker down too. That's kind of what my thought is. So do you think once this storm, it's actually not even going to leave until it's supposed to let up about 5-6 o'clock tonight, and that gives me like 2 hours. My barrel's only about 25 minutes away, and then it's supposed to come back in, later on tonight or whatever. So I feel like tonight's a good opportunity to sit, because it's supposed to be cleared up, and I'm hoping it gets them pretty enthusiastic to move around and check some new stuff out. However, once this storm comes back, and it's going to rain all day tomorrow and apparently into Monday morning,
then it clears out. Do you think I need to go back in and just like re-scent the thing, like start from scratch, or just kind of refresh it, or what do you usually do in that kind of scenario?
Yeah, and that's some of the problem I had this year too. Is that same thing? I'd go up, spray everything down, put scent out, and it would snow or rain, and which kind of just drowns all that scent out. And so yeah, I mean, definitely go back up, put some more of it out as much as you can in between storms, and then sit the bait.
Okay.
And
you can't kill at home.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Take one of your old dirty shirts and leave it up there.
Oh, I did do that. I've got one of my shirts. I tied it to a tree branch about 20 feet from the barrel.
Pee on it. That's what Matt does. Matt's up there peeing on everything, and I'm like, "Whoa, bro, what are we doing?" He goes, "I'm laying down my own scent," and I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Oh, no kidding. Tell me about that. So you pee on it.
I'm up there peeing in a bottle,
That's usually what I do.
I mean, when I first started baiting bears, I was really picky on no scent. Take a shower before you go. Don't put anything on. Rubber boots, rubber gloves. But over the years, I've learned that my scent being there, they get used to oh, it's just him.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Before I go, I'll make sure I wear my same cologne or deodorant, or every time I go bait, I pee right there on it.
So you wear cologne when you're up there with the bears, huh?
Yep. That's what me and Seth were joking. I was like, hey, would it have been weird to, hey, can you send me some dirty underwear?
Dirty underwear, some Axe body spray.
That was kind of my thing, was like, I don't hit that. I don't go to that bait ever. So for me to pee there, I was like, I'm worried that this would be a new scent that might, make the bear a little bit skittish. Matt, he's doing the right thing. He's the one that's usually hunting that bait, leaving his scent there. It's going to give him an advantage, and maybe just enough an advantage for that bear to make a mistake as he comes in or she comes in or whatever, and be like, I know who that is. That's the guy who's leaving me food, basically. And it might give him that chance to kill. As to where I'm a new scent. So we went back and forth while I was there. It's like, are they not coming in because I'm here and I'm the familiar, smell? So we talked about I should have sent a shirt out, that I had worn all day and not washed, and he could just left it there to where it would have been something that they would have been familiar with. And there's going to be people out there that will 100% completely disagree with what I'm saying right now.
I'm sure.
Right now.
I'm sure. I'm totally sure that's it. Doesn't matter what you say, man. There's gonna be some haters out there, but I think I want to say it was Joe, my buddy Joe over at the Western Bear Foundation that told me that to leave his shirt.
Yeah, I think I heard him say that too. Yeah.
Yeah, and he talked about how the bears, they know they're doing something wrong. They know they're not supposed to.
Risk versus reward. Yeah.
Exactly. And so he kind of implied, I don't want to put words in his mouth because I don't remember exactly how he put it, but implied that it's not a terrible idea to have your scent around there, because then it's not as alarming when you're actually there. Because I don't have a tree stand. I set up this ground blind out of logs that I'm sitting in. It's a pretty sweet shot too. I'm a little far away from my bow, and I have no way of getting any closer to this spot, so I'm using a rifle. But I don't care. I'm not picky. Anyway, yeah. So I think that's good advice. I think that's good advice.
Yeah, I mean, over the years I learned that, just because we're regular guys with regular jobs, and so some of the times I was, just in my work clothes, had a second to go bait the bait, and just noticed that they didn't mind it.
Interestingly, what I did this last deer hunting season for whitetails for my daughters is I set some ground blinds up where on these kind of corridors where these little whitetail bucks are kind of moving through on my property. Because we've got some acreage here that we live on, and there's tons of whitetail on it. And I thought, man, that'll be perfect. Get the girls to shoot a couple of young bucks because they taste the best. So, anyway, the point is my girls are like all over the property all the time, right? They're super busy. You know, they've got their little areas they like to go take the dogs, and you know, they're wearing they use like the shampoo and conditioner my wife buys that smells like a freaking department store or whatever. And they never changed any of that up, where I was like, if I'm hunting whitetail like that, I'm usually super anal. I wash down with the no spray, or I mean the no scent soap, you know,
Yep.
and use the scentless deodorant and all this stuff, and spray my clothes down. And I think that's good for big bucks. But I swear these smaller, younger bucks, they were like either 1.5 or 2.5-year-olds. I'd take my girls out there and I could smell them. But they're out there all the time, and the bucks didn't care. It was like they knew. They like didn't care. They were used to it. So and that's just kind of what I gathered from it, and I imagine that would translate pretty well to bear hunting. Except
yeah, exactly. Those bears get close to the bait, and they whether they smell my cologne or whatever, then they're like, oh, I've smelled this before and nothing's happened. So
or they smell it and they think food.
Yeah, or like, oh, he must have came up and baited the bait. So
yeah, added more to it. I'm hungry. I'm gonna go check it out. Huh.
Well,
okay.
I know that where I run cameras, I'll run cameras on trees that are not rub trees. They will eventually become a rub tree because the bear smells me and he rubs it. Like, nah, dude, this is my tree and you're in my area. So they're competing with me on being territorial.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I
don't think that they, I mean, obviously care about your scent. It's going to make them nervous no matter what.
Yeah.
But your scent being there is an advantage. And I think, all that, the no scent shampoo and all that stuff, I mean, I'm sure that's all fine and dandy, but no matter what you do, you're going to leave some sort of scent there. You can't, You're not like in a sterile hospital setting. So you got, it is what it is. And you just got to try to beat their nose enough for them to make a mistake for you to get an opportunity.
See, and I think it doesn't matter what game you're pursuing. Their nose is obviously going to be a lot better than you. You're never going to beat the nose, and you're never going to totally eliminate all of your smell. I think when it's like my objective when I'm hunting when I'm doing some kind of stand hunt, whether it's a ground blind or whatever, whitetail, bear, whatever, my goal is to, instead of going in there with like this big dramatic smell of Old Spice deodorant and whatever, I just want to reduce the dramatics of it, if that makes sense, and it can't do anything but help. And so I think that people need to understand that when you're like spraying yourself down with that scent free, scent away, whatever stuff you get at the sporting goods store. You're not eliminating your scent. You're just trying to reduce it a little bit. So instead they go, oh, wow, that is strong. That is potent. I'm out of here. They go, man, what was that? I just caught a whiff of something, but I'm not totally sure. I don't know if I'm going to take off or not, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. You're just, like you say, you're trying to mask it just a little bit.
Yeah.
If you went up there just stinking to high heaven, you might get a big boar come in and be like, think you're another big boar.
Yeah.
Who's this guy? Run him out of here. I think that I'm not a big deer hunter, so I love hunting deer. I've never been that successful at it, but I just have learned from running cameras and watching and running it on video that my scent, for as often as I check my cameras, has not affected any area I've run cameras. In fact, it makes them, when they come in, they seem more curious. They start rubbing on my camera.
Yeah, that's kind of why you said it, like they go right to your camera.
Yeah, they're curious. So, the baiting thing is different because I just totally had a brain fart of where I was going with that. But anyways, scent is scent. You're never going to be able to kill it completely.
Let's take a quick break to give our show sponsors some well-deserved love. Let's start with Scree Extreme Mountain Gear. High-performance hunting attire and gear. Scientifically tested camo patterns. Complete layering systems. And in my opinion, the finest merino wool products to keep you warm, dry, and comfortable. It's all backed by a great company. Some of my personal favorites in the Scree lineup are the hard scrabble pants for early to mid-season, and then as it gets colder, I switch to the Kodiak pants for late season. The Bridger glassing mitts are like game changers, and I love the Nebo rain gear. Scree offers great packages on the website as bundles, like the elk bundle, that will completely outfit you for your favorite hunt. Oh, and my favorite part? You won't need to refinance your house to get outfitted. Try the starter bundle for less than $500. It's an insane deal. With the VIP sizing guarantee, you can exchange something that doesn't fit for free. I just had to do this for something that I got my wife. It was a little big, so I just sent it back. They covered the shipping both ways and exchanged it for the right size. So go to screegear.com and at checkout, use promo code The Western Huntsman for 15% off and free shipping. Phelps Game Calls, one thing that I love about companies that are born out of hunting is their story. Like Phelps Game Calls, the American success story that walks us through how something started small and grew into something big. Like Phelps, he started this company kind of as a hobby in his garage in 2009. Now, a little over a decade later, Phelps is one of the premier hunting call companies on the planet for good reason. They're the most realistic calls on the market, and that is saying something. Check out the AMP lineup. For predator calls like the 3-pack POR 123 or the Fawn in Distress, check those out. Turkey calls, get a diaphragm, a pot call, or a box call, and a complete line of waterfowl calls. Hit up the website and at checkout, use promo code Huntsman10 for 10% off. Phelps Game Calls, get them close. The Elk Collective. The best investment for hunting success is what's between your ears. Having elk hunting knowledge is what separates those who succeed every once in a while against those who notch tags every year. There's a very fine line there, and there's a perfect amount of time if you're listening to this now to get through the entire course before September. Improve your chances with a virtual course of over 140 videos that cover things like how to get elk tags throughout the West, scouting and e-scouting, beginner to advanced elk calling, gear, fitness, nutrition, shooting processes, hunting scenarios, strategies, and tons more. They've got some very big names on this platform that give you their personal expertise as you go through the course. It's the best way to make you the best elk hunter as you get into the woods. So go to theelkcollective.com and use promo code The Western Huntsman for $20 off. It's normally $89, so when you use my promo code, it's going to be the best $69 you've spent on elk hunting, and I guarantee you it's worth every penny. Check it out, guys. Hoffman Boots. Let me give you guys a piece of advice from a dude with many miles on his feet. Never skimp on quality hunting boots. Hoffman Boots is a fourth-generation, family-owned company based in North Idaho. I've been sporting a pair of Hoffmans for close to a decade. Particularly, I like the Hoffman Explorer in the 8-inch. In my most humble opinion again, Hoffman offers the most comfortable hunting boot that does the least amount of damage to my feet after several miles on the mountain. Very little break-in period on these boots, by the way. I took them right out of the box and went on a crazy elk hunt, not even a blister. For hunting, they have the Explorers and the Summit boot offered in insulated and non-insulated. And ladies, check out the new women's Hoffman Explorer 400. They also carry lineman boots, winter pack boots, logging boots, and hiking boots. Get totally outfitted at hoffmanboots.com and at checkout. As you know, it's coming. Use promo code, all caps lock, Huntsman10 for 10% off. Last but not least, Tacticam. If you're interested in self-filming your hunts, whether for memories or making hunting content, check out the Tacticam products like the Spotter LR, Tacticam 5.0, and the Film Through Scope system, all of which are available at thewesternhuntsman.com, which helps support our fight against the anti-hunting movement. But my favorite is the Tacticam Reveal cell cams. I use these cell cams all over my property, and I'm like obsessed with monitoring the wildlife in real time with these cameras. They not only text me instantly when a buck or a bear is cruising through, my reveals make for excellent security systems. I know when the FedEx dude is delivering packages way down at the bottom of our driveway. And I also know if some knucklehead shows up to try to steal them. I know when someone's trespassing or if I have the kind of wildlife roaming around that I don't want, like a coyote. And I quickly react with my cat-like reflexes. Great for trappers, great for hunters, security, anything, guys. Check it out at tacticam.com because I don't have the reveals on my website right now. Let them know I sent you. Tacticam.com. Let's get back to the show. Here we go. Yeah, that makes sense. That actually. So, Matt, I got a question for you on going back to the actual strategy of baiting. How do you determine where to put a bait barrel?
For me, I like deep, dark forest. That's where those bears are most comfortable. And if you do have a bait site, they're more likely with the cover of the forest to come down to your bait site in the deep, dark forest. Thicker the trees, the better.
Do you have an opinion as to elevation preference in terms of like how that relates to? Are you looking for mid slope, upper slope, lower into the drainage kind of thing?
My one bait. I mean, actually, both of them are in the bottom of the drainage, kind of where it plateaus out. Maybe like two cricks in the drainage where it splits, just right up in the top.
Oh, gotcha.
Plateau. Yeah.
Okay. I know like up where we're at, you got to be a certain, 100 feet or something like. Don't quote me on that from any kind of creek, but.
It's same here. It's 200 feet.
200 feet. Okay. And so I'm always, I try to be super aware of I don't ever want somebody to get a ticket and be like, well, I heard this on the Western Husband podcast. You know what I mean? So. Yeah,
there's definitely a rule, being away from the creek and a road.
Yeah. And a road.
I've been trying to get Matt to Instagram do more posts about how he baits, his strategies. He can go into the regulations if he wants to, but there's so many people out there like me that are curious about it and they want to learn about it. And Matt has the knowledge, and he proved that to me when we hunted together this year, that he has so much to offer just by telling people, his strategies, how he does things. And
well, that's a good point.
He has so much opportunity. I told him the whole time I'm there, I'm like,
yeah, he did too.
You have so much opportunity for content, for social media to share with people, versus me. I'm super limited. I can't bait. I can't run dogs. I don't have elk running around. I don't have moose running around. He has, he's living like in a zoo basically, to where, and I'm like, dude, you got to share this with people because people love seeing it.
So Matt, that Seth brings up a great point, man. What can you describe what you think your baiting strategy, how that separates from maybe some other people out there that bait?
Just like Seth said, some of the content you could show, maybe like how I bait, what I bait with, and show people that way. And ways that I've been successful, in baiting them, and show that more.
So
he could show how that one bear came in and how picky he was.
Yeah,
there's so much stuff he could dive into about how this bear likes apples, but this bear doesn't. He just wants to chop. He could go down so many rabbit holes and teach stuff. I
would love that kind of stuff.
Doing the one out, sometimes those bears know you're there. They hear you walk in, so maybe you have two guys walk in and one walk out. It might throw them off.
Yeah, we were actually, when we were struggling to get that one bear that I was after to come in, that was going to be our next thing, is where we were both going to hike in, we were both going to sit the stand, Matt's setup is he's got, and maybe I should let him tell you his setup, but what we were going to do is we were both going to go in and hunt, and then maybe if nothing comes in, because I was the one that was trying to get the bear. Matt was just kind of helping me out, but we were going to have him maybe leave like 2 hours earlier. And those bears are usually close enough by, they probably can either see you or they can at least hear you. And so once he left, we were hoping the bear would come in and be like, okay, they're gone. Yeah. And then I'd be there, waiting to fling an arrow. So, and we kind of experienced that when we abandoned, I wouldn't say we abandoned, the bait we were sitting was a tree stand hunt. And that was kind of my main goal. My main goal was to fill a tag out there, but my other goal was to kill over a bait out of a tree stand with my bow. I didn't get to experience that because the last couple days I was going to be there, it was going to be really windy. And I was like, I don't really want to be sitting 25 feet up in a tree and it's windy as hell. And bears don't like the wind anyway. So let's go to a different unit and check out another bait you're running. So that's what we decided to do. We got up there, and this is kind of going into that two in, one out. We check his bait. We pack in some bait. His bait had been demolished. And it was just there. It looked like cows had been in there.
Oh,
so
really?
we baited up. We baited up, and I take some of that Boar Masters. It's like that. What's it called, Matt?
The
powder. The stuff that's supposed to be 100 times sweeter than sugar. What do they call it?
It's the stuff you mix with popcorn and dog food too. So
carnivore. It was carnivore candy flavor. Anyways, I took it and I kind of threw some up in the air, and it was funny because Matt and I both looked at each other and we're like, "Dude, look how far that's carrying." All the way down the ridge top. And we're just like, "Holy cow, that's crazy!"
I'm gonna try that.
So we hiked back out down to his side by side, and our plan was to drive around the other side of the mountain, hike over the top, and come down and sit on top of that bait from a different angle. Well, by the time we did that and we come hiking over, we were kind of having trouble relocating the bait because we'd never done it before.
Mm-hmm.
And as we're sneaking down, because we could tell we're getting close, they're on the bait and he's running off. And I'm like, holy shit, there's already a bear here. And so
20 minutes,
Wow.
And so I tried.
Like 20 minutes from the time you threw that stuff into the air, there was a bear on it.
The razor came back in.
I'll bet it was. I don't know if it was 20 minutes.
What was that last part you said, Seth? For some reason, you go quiet and then your voice comes slowly back in. I'm not sure what's going on.
It's these freaking stupid pods or what? Let me try something here.
Sorry.
Is that better?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, that does sound better.
I think my Apple pods are dying.
You gotta clean the earwax out of them, brother.
I don't. Yeah, probably. Well, they're my wife, so you're gonna have to talk to her.
Oh man, that. Don't let her listen. I don't want her to get offended.
No, I don't even think it was. I would be shocked if it was 20 minutes by the time we circled back.
Yeah.
But I tried to get on that bear, and it was a beautiful blonde. I probably could have got a shot, but it would have been a hurried shot, and it wasn't that great of a bear anyways. Yeah. And so, anyway, we got situated. We sat back down to where we wanted to be. I should have brought my bow because it was bow range, but being that I'd never been there before, I kind of just opted to take my rifle that day. I'm like, you know what? We're going to be in some big area. I'm not a great bow hunter anyway, so I'm just going to take the rifle. But that bear came back. At least I think it was the same bear. Matt thinks it's a different bear 2 hours later. In fact, what's funny about that is it was cold as shit up there.
And it was snowing on and off.
And it was snowing on and off.
You're getting snowed.
Yeah.
So, what kind of elevation were you guys at?
We're about 8,000 feet.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so I'm in my puffies, freezing my California nuts off. And so I I actually moved up the hill a little bit into some sun, and I fell asleep. And Matt, all of a sudden, I don't know how long it had been. All of a sudden, Matt's waking me up, going, "There's a bear coming in." And anyways, I don't know if I was loud, and that bear took off, as I kind of woke up. But I think
that was funny because Seth was like, "Did you get that on video?" And I'm like, "Get what on video? Me sleeping."
I just thought it was funny. I was like, of course I fall asleep because I'm cold, and we've been up.
With that warm sun and
it drains you. But you
anyways,
ended up oh, go ahead.
Yeah, well, 2 hours. Was it 2 hours later or late? I think it was probably an hour later.
Yeah, an hour.
The jet black came in, and we watched it for a while, or not a while, 5 minutes, and it was like, all right, well, it's the right color. It's a good bear, and the rest is history. I mean, it was
same thing like that. You get time to sit there and study it.
Yeah.
Is this the right bear? You
can be picky.
Yeah, you're picky with it, and you can make that decision.
Huh. That's awesome.
Jim, do you ever see the Boar Master stuff that far north, or is it kind of like the state is? It's the popularity of the Batum 907 is up that way, and the Boar Masters has kind of got the southern part of the state. Or
no, I actually was referred to Batum 907 by somebody in southern Idaho. I think they're in Boise, but yeah, that so. I don't know. I think that what it is for me, like a lot of things that I either promote or some of the sponsorships on the show, a lot of it is just relationship. I got referred to the lady that owns Batum 907. I ended up getting her on the show to talk about bear baiting a couple years ago. She actually sent me a box of stuff to try. And I've since bought a lot of stuff from her, and it works. And I know that the Boar Masters works. I don't have an opinion if one works more than the other one because I've never tried Boar Masters. So I don't have anything positive or negative to say about Boar Masters other than the Batum 907 stuff. For me, the lady that owns it, she's kind of become a friend, and so I'm faithful to that product, and it works very well for me. And I know that there's a lot of people that use the Boar Masters, and it works very well for them. So I don't really promote one or the other over the other than I have a promo code for Batum 907 stuff. Does that make sense?
No, no, totally. I was just curious of how it is in certain parts of the state, certain products, no matter what they are just more popular there, and a lot of it is people just may have never heard of the other one. So
I know there's guys up here that get the Boar Masters, but usually on just generally speaking, the North Idaho folks tend to be a lot more smart, and. Just kidding. But I know there's people that use the Boar Master stuff up here. I've actually
like you said, relationships.
It's all a relationship thing.
You get to know somebody, and
for sure. It's like a lot of it's like my Hoffman Boots. I know the owner of Hoffman Boots. He's more than just an acquaintance. And so, I've been running his boots for a long, long time, and they've never failed me. It's a good product. Now, if I have a friend that has a product and it's shit, I'm not gonna roll with it, and and I'll tell them. But it's that kind of thing. It's more of a relationship than it is anything.
Yeah, I know. I noticed when I was in Montana hunting that everybody wore what are those boots?
The Schnees.
No, the starts with the K.
Kennetrick. Yeah.
Like everybody wore them, and I'm like, oh, I never see those in California. So it's in an area by area where things are popular. California, everybody's, we're all wearing Birkenstocks, so we don't even wear boots. No, it's
I was in Spokane and saw a storefront that said Birkenstocks, and I thought it was a joke. I took you know what? I don't think I ever. I was going to take a picture and send it to my buddy Guy, But I can't give him a hard time because he doesn't live in California anymore.
He got out.
He got out, man. He escaped. He escaped.
It's not so bad here in California. I honestly think, and I'm sure a lot of people will disagree, but I actually think that Washington and Oregon are a lot more left wing than California. California's got a bad name, but I mean, look what happened this year with the bear hunting in Washington, and look what happened with it here in California. You know, our commission here in California, you got to give them credit. They followed the science.
Yeah, they did. They did, and I'll be honest. I was investigating that whole thing and kind of looking at all the commission members, and I thought for sure emotion was going to take the day in California. So I was surprised, pleasantly surprised, and I think that Washington and Oregon, and I would put California into this mix there, Seth. Is what it is you have these super high dense areas like Portland, Seattle, San Francisco, and they're so populated, and the fanatics in those areas are so loud and vocal, and it makes people think that they've got all this sway and persuasiveness or something. I don't know what's going on with that, but like I live less than it takes me about an hour to get to Washington now. But for my day job, my office is in Spokane, Washington. It's 2 hours away from me. And so I go in, once a week or whatever, to show my smiling face. And, you go to Spokane, Washington, the mentality is really not any different than Idaho. And most of Washington is like that. Like I travel all over Washington for my job. Central Washington, I'm in the Tri-Cities to Moses Lake to Yakima to, Wenatchee. All these areas is normal America. It's when you cross that pass and drop down into like Seattle, Tacoma, the whole just mentality changes. And there is like this feeling, and I don't mean actual rain clouds because it's Seattle, but there's like this dreadfulness about the wrong move, and you're going to get so overly prejudged by these left-wing extremists because I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this.
I think I know where you're going with it. Is people in like those areas like San Francisco or LA or whatever, they're out of touch with wildlife.
Yeah, they totally are.
They're not. They're watching too much Disney. They don't experience being out in the wildlife and what it's like. Well, what's going to happen is when they take away all this stuff, the wildlife is going to come to them because they don't have the healthy fear of humans. And they're already seeing that in Washington where they're having bears coming into the neighborhood. And, that's going to happen no matter what. But as the wildlife populations grow, the wildlife has to spread out.
Yeah.
Because they're going to start competing for food. And so they're going to end up in your backyard eating your dog's food. And that's not what you want. And so it was cool for me to experience. I went to the commission meeting here when they decided the California stuff, and I got to step up and go toe to toe with Wendy, whatever her name is, and go toe to toe with her. She's trying to take it away, and I'm trying to advocate for the hunting purposes, and watch her go down in burning flames because she's absolutely wrong. I would bet that she doesn't even believe the shit that's coming out of her own mouth.
I think that's the case for a lot of them. I literally believe that they have so much emotion wrapped into their belief system that it's like they know that it's inappropriate and not science proven or backed, but they feel obligated to defend it because it's kind of like a vegan, like these hostile vegans, the status on veganism is pretty astounding. It's like over 80% of vegans revert back to being meat eaters within 2 years. It's like this crazy stat. But what happens is you get these people that make the decision to go vegan and then come to find out there's all these vitamin B12 and other health deficiencies that come out of that because it's not a natural way for a human to live. And people get they want to defend the position. Like, have you ever had a buddy that spent too much on a pickup truck, but he defends the position so much that, like, he believes it was a good buy, but he's trying to justify it to you, and in his own mind he starts believing his own lie about this great deal he got on a pickup truck, even though he got bent over a pole. You know what I mean? And so it's the same thing. It's the same thing with people like these vegans that they become hostile and they're extremists and they defend this position. Meanwhile, their health is deteriorating, and they're trying to push this lifestyle under these false premises, like it's good for the environment, which isn't true, or that it's healthy, which isn't true, or that no animals die, which isn't true. All these things fall apart, but they still defend it to the bitter end. That's what these environmentalists do.
I'm going to be vegan, and everybody else is too.
Yeah, exactly. And I will say, like, it's not.
Comes down, and they're clouded by money.
Yeah, and they are. A lot of it is a cottage industry.
That maybe they go into it believing, against, let's say hunting or whatever. And I think eventually, as they dig into it and they're finding all the statistics and stats and all the data, that they're not going to refute it in their own mind, but that now the money's involved and they're getting paid or making money. The Humane Society is the biggest money laundering company there is.
Totally. It totally is.
She sat there, and the department gave their presentation, which was phenomenal. And then she still stood up after she was presented with the evidence or whatever you want to call it, that the bear population is actually probably higher than what they even thought it was. Mm-hmm. And she still just sat there and told lies. And was like,
who are you talking about exactly? Was it one of the commission members?
The Wendy, she's the head carnivore for the Humane Society. Wendy.
Oh.
No, our commission. I mean, they voted unanimously to keep it. So
man, I hope she walked out of there and just felt dumb as fuck. I mean, pardon my French, but I do. I hate
one
that
of
stuff.
One of them.
And I think she did.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if she did or not. She believes what she believes. One of them did get upset and left early because Mike Costello and I got to stand up and talk about bear meat, and because the commission had a couple questions for us, and
sweet,
the lady wanted to argue about it, and the commission shut her down and was like, you're not here for a debate. We had a question for them, so we're going to let them answer it. We said what we wanted to say, and she got so mad, she got up and left.
I feel terrible for her. I feel terrible. That's a beautiful thing, man. I'm so glad you guys did that. I was proud of you and Mike Costello and everybody else that hunters came together for the state of California. Honestly, they did for Washington as well. It just didn't work. There was too much emotional and political kind of things involved in the Washington situation, but we have a chance to get it back now.
Well, the problem there is the commission doesn't care.
Exactly.
They don't.
They ignored the science.
They don't. You could tell them that the state of Washington has 500,000 bears, mm-hmm. and they would still vote against it. And you could tell in their meetings, and I've watched a lot of their Zoom meetings, and you could just tell it does not matter what their department, because their department came back with a phenomenal presentation as well that supported a spring bear season. And their commission didn't give two shits.
No, they didn't. They didn't care. And it wasn't the whole commission. I'm defending the ones that were in favor of the spring bear hunt. I had Jim on the show, one of them, at one point. And so Washington has some good commissioners. They have a couple of extremists, leftist, environmental, or not environmental, but animal rights kind of type folks. You could tell just from their background and the way they vote. And the points they make in some of those meetings. Washington also has, I would say, one or two commissioners that doesn't pass the smell test to be a wildlife game commissioner. I don't want to get too far into that, but
they do have, like you say, they have a couple commissioners that are, they're not pro hunting, they're not anti hunting, they're pro science. Let's say that.
Yeah.
They're going to follow the science, and it is what it is. My honest opinion is, why do we have commissions anyways? Why do we need them? We have a department, and they're the ones doing the work. They're the ones doing the studies.
Yeah.
Who? I mean, these governors, and that's the problem, is you got a nut job governor here in California who gets to appoint these commissioners, and I think it's the same in every state, is the governor gets to appoint it. But why do we need them?
Well, if the system is followed the way that it was originally designed, it's a good system. And Idaho, I think, is a good example of that. But where, like, Idaho is failing is if the commission doesn't move fast enough, it'll get bypassed through legislation. And that's where the system kind of breaks down, because our commission here in the state of Idaho, I believe, they've done a lot of things I agree with, and they've done some things that I disagree with, but I do believe that they are following the scientific data that's in front of them on a lot of things. Other things they're just overly trying to be like old fashioned or whatever. But I think that where the system breaks down, like this recently happened here in the state of Idaho, where our commissioners they did kind of drop the ball on this whole lighted Knox topic and mechanical broadheads. They kind of I don't know if they got stubborn or they have this theory, and a lot of people will disagree with me on this. They have this theory that we're trying to keep it as traditional as possible, and I agree with that to an extent. But I do feel like they didn't listen to the masses of hunters in the state of Idaho, and so they ended up getting bypassed through a legislator, and that's where our system starts breaking down. Where I agree we should have lighted Knox and mechanical broadheads, I don't agree it should have been pushed through legislation. And so every state, I should say, has some uphill battles and things that, I guess, let me put it to you this way. I'd rather deal with that issue here in the state of Idaho than the commissioners in the state of Washington. And going back to what we were talking about, Seth, and the way that it's these small regional high populated areas that tend to run the whole state, it's that's starting to take root in other places. Like, I'll give you a great example. Jackson, Wyoming used to be this badass old mountain man / cowboy town. It was a cool place. It was just an absolute all-American cool place. But you go there now, like, these people are psychotic in Jackson. They're fucking psychotic. And they're so pro-wolf and pro-grizzly bear and these weird environmental beliefs that don't even apply to reality. It's nuts.
They just let a grizzly bear run around town.
I know. Yeah.
They don't.
I used to go there as a kid, and it was a great place. And like, I have no desire to take my kids there anymore, because I feel like they'd get like propagated by these liberal wackos that have basically ruined the town.
Matt spends a lot of time over there.
Yeah, I work in Jackson quite a bit, and
I hope you're not offended.
I see exactly that. No, I'm on your side. I totally agree. I mean,
I guess, you're not very far. You're not very far from Jackson, where you're at, huh?
Just like an hour and a half drive.
I guess my beef with the commissions is
you're cutting out really bad again. You're cutting out. Try to adjust your phone there and say that again.
Am I good now?
Yeah, there you go.
I guess my beef with the commission is, if they would just follow the science that's proven to them, shown to them by the department, then I wouldn't have an issue. Totally
agree with that. Matt, you got a take on that?
Yeah, and what's been nice is, back on what we said, where social media comes in, I think more now than ever, we're stronger too.
Yeah.
As far as defending this stuff.
I think so too. I think so.
What's the issue with the lighted Knox?
Well, Matt, maybe.
But I see that as a plus.
It is,
I
but
mean,
the
idea, gonna help
the idea that the mentality that the commission had from, and this is kind of my perception of it, maybe I'm off base, but is introducing anything that has like any kind of technology driven, tool or whatever, that like in the state of Idaho, you cannot have any kind of electronic on your weapon. You can't have those scopes that light up or tell you yardage or any of that kind of stuff. I don't even know what they're called because I never use them. And it was the
same with your bow, like on your lighted sights.
You can't have lighted sights.
You can't even video, like hook a.
Yeah. You can't. I run those Tacticams, Matt, and they have this really cool thing called the film through scope, where you can attach it to your rifle scope or mount it to your bow, and it basically films what you see through your sights or your scope. And and I'm kind of explaining that wrong. It doesn't fit on the bow like that, but there's another attachment you use for a bow. Anyway, you can't use that in the state of Idaho if you're shooting big game. So I think the idea was, Matt, and you can chime in after me here on this, but what the idea is, the Idaho Fish and Game didn't want something like lighted nocks opening up the door for other future technologies that make hunters more lethal. So they're kind of one of the things they talked about was, well, we don't want to have to shorten a season or reduce the amount of tags because all this technology is making it better. That's kind of how I perceived it. What do you say, Matt?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, same. That's what I've heard and
so it's like a gateway drug.
Yeah, it was like a gateway drug in their mind. And
we start this and then what? Yeah.
And I think that was kind of the failure point from the commission, because I agree with that mentality, and I agree with the philosophy about that. But they were so black and white about it, right? That like there was no gray area. A lighted knock doesn't make you more lethal. A mechanical broadhead doesn't make you more lethal. It's just in my opinion, a mechanical broadhead is just, it's another tool you can use if you have a preference for them, then use them, whatever. But in the state of Idaho, we couldn't. So, I think that's where kind of the failure point came out of is not having any flexibility in that belief, because, it's okay, to put a lighted knock on an arrow. But
I think, like you said, like they didn't listen to the masses, where they're like, a lighted knock helps me see my shot placement and helps me get to my game, and just help. It was just a helpful tool.
It's just a helpful tool. It would have helped me a couple times, and you have people out there that are like, oh well. They're going to let all this new technology in, and now people are going to be taking bad shots. And I disagree with that. A lighted knock does not apply to that concept, and the same assholes that take shitty shots before are going to be the same assholes that use lighted knocks to continue to take shitty shots. So it's not applicable. Anyway, we totally went down a rabbit trail there.
We knew we would.
Yeah, we knew we would. This is what happens.
No, I want Matt to explain his routine every season and how he starts, and just like his steps through the season as he baits, because I think it's fascinating. I think that the listeners on here want to know how Matt starts and his process.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that, Matt.
I'm going to put him on the spot there and have him explain it, and his do's, his don'ts, and all that stuff, because I find it fascinating.
I mean, even going from the beginning, I mean, even before the season, like gathering your bait, getting your bait together, making sure you have enough bait. And then, I mean, every year opening day, I put my bait out, and I mean, even like this year, it took a month to get a bear there, but I always put it out early season, put a camera on it, and you never know.
So when you put it out, Matt, like season up here opens April 15th. Is that how it is down in your?
Same here, yeah.
So how? What if you can't get to your spot, like because of snow?
Matt hiked it in anyways.
I did too.
That's hardcore, man. That is seriously hardcore. I am not.
Well,
I am not hiking a barrel 20 miles though.
Oh, dude, when I went up there and he goes, dude, I had to park right here. at the beginning of the year, and I'm like, you packed shit this far? He's like, yeah. I'm like, dude, you are committed.
So you said it. That is commitment, man. So you said it opening day, and
I mean, I do it every year, and and these bears here, they hibernate 5 months of the year, and depending on the snow level, it could be a month before you get a bear out on it. But I mean, it seems like every year I'm like chomping at the bit just to get out there and get it out.
Well, what is the thought process of getting it out there on opening day? Why do you do that?
I think me and Seth talked about this too, because he asked the same thing. But I like it just because it's there. It's out. Your scent's out. You're at an advantage just having it out.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Eventually they're going to discover it, and you're ready. You're set up.
And I don't know, he had, I mean, for a while there, Matt's sending me pictures and all this stuff, and it's nothing but 50 crows sitting on it. And I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
And Matt was like, this sucks that we're just getting, that's all we're getting. But the birds are good because the bears hear them where they're carrying food off and dropping it. And so, the birds on the bait is a good thing, because it will attract a bear that's in the area. So that would have been like something I would have never even thought about, because I was like, these damn crows, I'm bringing a BB gun and I'm going to start whacking them.
They're sitting there.
I've been tempted many times.
They're sitting there squawking, a bear's going to hear that. And, you're wondering why they're all right there.
Yeah, very true. Very true. They're usually not squawking because there's nothing to eat. And bears do pick up on that for sure.
No, and it was like the other thing, I was like, do you think there's another bait in the area and maybe they're focused on that bait? And he goes, Matt's like, no, if there is another bait in the area, I welcome it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just helps you out more.
Yep.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that.
I hear people say that all the time. You're like, is there another bait there? I mean, look at it like they're helping you, Say you have another bait, 2 miles away. Those bears are going to travel in between baits.
Oh, for sure.
So
for sure.
Puts you at an advantage. It just helps you.
Yeah, for sure. And so when you first said it, Matt, how often in that early season, that when it's still April, how often are you going back and checking it?
I mean, minus Seth coming to hunt it, I kind of just leave it. And,
okay.
And, maybe go up once a week and, kind of check it, maybe pack some more bait in with you and put some more scent out. And it all depends on the snow, snow level too. But yeah, it's like we said earlier, once, one bear discovers it, it's like, yeah, it's pretty consistent after that.
So I want to ask you some just generic kind of basic bear hunting technique questions. Is that okay?
Yeah.
What do you recommend time of day wise to sit at your barrel and don't miss it no matter what?
So I think we learned this, didn't we?
Well, and the thing is I've never done this before, so Matt humored me when I came up there, because the first day we hunted, I'm like, we're going up in the morning, we're sitting all damn day. And because my theory is I'm not going to kill while I'm sitting in town, so I might as well sit there just in case a morning or an afternoon bear came in. And Matt humored me, and we sat there day one, nothing. And so I was like, all right, we're going to do what you want to do.
Yeah, so in the past, I've learned that the last 2 hours before dark, best time.
Okay.
Even the last hour, the golden hour, that's the best time that the bears come into the bait. And yeah, I laughed because Seth wanted to get up there so fast, but I get it. I was pretty excited just to get up there. But yeah, usually, I mean, if you're in the tree by 2 or 3, maybe a little later, the best time.
So I usually, and I think that it changes. So in the panhandle of Idaho, we're on Pacific time, and we get light super early, and this time of year it doesn't get dark until pretty late. Like we don't. I should look it up so I don't talk out my ass, but there's not much dark time right now. So where does it tell me that on this little app? Sunrise. So right now, sunrise is at 4:46 a.m. Sunset is at 8:39, so it's dark about 10 after 9. In about 2 weeks, that's going to be dramatically different, where it's not getting dark till like after 10 o'clock. That's not abnormal for June up here. I don't know if it's like that down there, because I remember when I lived in Utah, I was really paying attention to when it got dark. It never stayed late as late as it does up here. So, anyway.
Yeah, it's because you're way north.
Yeah, we're way up here in the north. So,
even like early season, I've learned that, I'll be heavy on the bait, and once these bears start discovering it, I'll hold back on my bait. Now there's competition at the bait, so these bears are coming in earlier too, trying to beat the other bear for less food. So now I cut the bait back, and now they're fighting to get in there.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which some of that, I mean, they don't care. They want to just be the first one there.
Yeah.
To eat.
Yeah, and that's kind of been what I've been doing this year. I was sitting my bait barrel last year because I was getting bears on it at all sorts of random times. I mean, 6 a.m., 10 a.m., 1 p.m., but the most were coming in, like you said, about 2 hours before dark. Yeah. And that's when it was the most frequent. So,
and see, that's where your camera comes in and is going to help you pattern them. Now, just because you pattern them doesn't mean you're going to kill. So everybody thinking that, you're running cameras, you're cheating. No, it's going to help me pattern them. But just because I pattern them doesn't mean they're going to come in, because they may smell me and they may not like it, so it's still, that's just another tool. We were running the camera up there, and Matt and I would watch videos of it, and the bear we were after, he was acting like he was afraid. He kind of acted skittish, and we couldn't figure him out.
But that's where we thought it was us. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, we were like, man, it's something we're doing. What we finally realized is when he would act weird and run off, he was chasing another bear. We just never saw that bear on camera until one of the last days. And we watched him chase. We watched him chase that sow off, and we're like, that's what he's been doing the whole damn time. And that's why we're here in California, when I run cameras, most of the time I'm running two cameras in one spot, one facing one way, one facing the other. Whereas if we would have been doing that in Idaho, we would have seen the other bear.
There was another bear.
The bait. That bear was circling the bait, and he didn't like it.
That's okay. That's good to know. Maybe I have an extra camera. Maybe I ought to take it up there and put it at a different angle.
Yeah, and then for us too, you can learn what direction they're coming from. Maybe they're coming from the direction that you walk in, so maybe he's figuring you out.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
Well, we figured that out with the bear we were watching. We thought he was coming from a different area, and we finally figured out he was coming up the path we were leaving on. And so that was telling us that he was waiting for us to leave.
So you're going in on one path and leaving on a different path? Is that what you're saying?
No, it was the same trail.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
But he was hunkering down somewhere in that area we would come in and go out on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. This is all.
It is frustrating.
It's totally frustrating. Man,
it's totally I'm up there, and I know Matt was frustrated, but man, I was like getting pissed. I'm like, this mother effer better come in tonight. So
the problem we have is, he's there every day.
Yeah,
and we are too. It's just a matter of crossing paths.
Well, he would come in two different times. He'd come in the morning, and then he'd come in the evening, and then he'd come back in the middle of the night. We're like,
that's what I was going to say, is like there's, you could say you have these bears patterned, but I swear last year, they were showing up all the time, and I confirmed that there were over 10 different bears showing up on this barrel, right? And there was probably more, but there was a couple of them where I couldn't tell if that was a different bear or the same bear kind of, situation. And people, to those who think between the cameras and the bait and all that kind of stuff, that it's easy or whatever. You haven't tried it, man. Go try it, because I had all those bears last year, and I did not kill a bear last year. I did not. Now I could have on one occasion, but I was being a little bit picky. And so I'm not saying I totally failed, but I did. I did fail, because that big sucker I was after, he was his head when he walked on all fours was taller than my barrel. He was a big sucker, and so I was really hoping for him, but he was a lot smarter than me, and I never did get him. So I didn't tag out last year.
Yeah,
and you'll see if he comes back. He'll probably be back this year.
Dude, I wish I would have followed your advice and known it like last fall on the whole run your camera on video. I got the damnedest picture
it's a
stream.
game changer.
I've got this. I set this salt lick out to see if there was some elk, and this freaking black bear comes in, and he grabs my salt lick, and then the next picture, it's like he's rolled on his back with the salt lick kind of in the air. He's holding it, and then the next picture is he's rolled over on his haunches there, and he's trying to pick the salt lick up. So the whole thing, there's like 6 or 7 pictures. He's trying to steal the salt lick, and then he determines that it's too heavy for him, so he runs off and leaves it there. It's the funniest freaking. I had to send him to you guys.
They do some super comical stuff.
Yeah.
In fact, we have my camera that was out there. It had a glitch, but we had a bear sitting there pleasuring himself for a while, and we had some good. And it started. We saw pictures, but the video wouldn't work. And I'm like, dude, that would have been the best video.
Oh my
ever.
God, that would have been a viral video, man.
Yeah, we were sad that we have a picture of it too. I need to post it on Instagram, but yeah.
Well, it's like you said. It's like you were saying that, like you pretty sure you had other bears, but you just couldn't tell the difference. If you'd have been running video, you probably would have been able to tell the difference on, the way their movements, and just they're not that hard to identify as separate bears when you can see them on video.
Okay. So.
Yeah, I mean, you can see like a scar on one, or maybe something with their ears, or you can find something more likely to know if you have different bears.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm gonna set that tonight. In fact, I need to wrap this up, guys, because I gotta get ready to head up there. I hope my reindeer is
go
soaked. So I pulled out the manual to this. I have so many different types of trail cameras, I forget how each one works. So I'll figure that out now. But I appreciate the advice on that, and I think that was a fun episode actually. We should do it again. Seth, you're always a good time to get on, and Matt, you passed the whole intro to podcasting test. I'd have you on again for sure, man. I appreciate it.
Heck yeah. I like it.
So thanks again, Seth. You got any closing thoughts, man? I know you've got a lot of thoughts and opinions out there on bear hunting. If you have one last message you wanna put out there.
Oh, I don't think you got enough time, man. No. I mean, I just think when it comes to hunting in general, I think that non-hunters and hunters just need to be more open-minded to how other hunters hunt. Just because you don't agree with it doesn't mean that it's like the baiting or the dogs or whatever it may be. Just try it.
Well said. No, that's absolutely right. I think that the whole, and this is a new thing, and I think it's made worse by like social media and stuff, but the whole I do it differently and I disagree, that means we cannot be friends concept is right. It's getting old. It's getting so old. It's so childish.
I mean, even with bear baiting, I find myself just watching them sometimes. Mm-hmm. It's enjoyable just to watch the bears.
Yeah.
And even now I'm like, oh, there's a bear right there, and just doing that.
No, that exactly. It's super entertaining. And educational. I mean, it's super educational. I mean, it's amazing what you can actually pick up. I mean, not so much at like a city zoo or something, but like in your neck of the woods down there, Matt, you got that Yellowstone Bear World. You drive through that thing, and you actually learn a lot about bears and behavior. And we actually drove through there because we came and got a puppy down in Idaho Falls last September, and that bull elk they had in there with the albino cows and all that.
Yeah.
Dude, that thing he was just absolutely bugling his ass off, and you learn a lot just watching him do that in that kind of setting, you know, where he's just kind of ignoring you, doing his thing. So anyway,
we thought for a minute that's where we were going to have to go.
Yeah, like maybe I'll just take Seth there, and you know.
Yeah, that's. I think that's a once in a lifetime draw tag. For the state of Idaho.
But that's a life sentence tag.
Well, as long as you're really fast, I think you could do it. But no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Don't anybody.
That'd be one big bear.
Yeah, it would be a big bear.
That is a baited bear for
100%. For sure. So, well, guys, I appreciate you guys joining me. Matt Drake, what's your Instagram handle again? It's Matt Drake Baiting.
Baits 208.
Matt Drake Baits 208. So, guys, I'll put that in the show note. And then we have Seth Watts, who is Black Bear Pursuit. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I think it's like Black_Pursuit or something like that. Black Bear _Pursuit.
Yeah, Black_Bear_Pursuit. Yeah, you type it in, I'll pop up.
Yeah, I'll put all that in the show notes. So all you guys have to do is hit the whole link there, and it'll take you right to their Instagram profile. And Seth, you're pretty entertaining to follow, man. I enjoy watching the stuff you post, and you got a lot of good content, especially like you said with some of the challenges and limitations being in California. So anyway,
well, I think the last thing I'll say on the reason I started my Instagram was to show that there are hunters in California, and that California does have a lot to offer as far as hunting. And I want people to come here from out of state. I know there's a lot of people that don't want people from other states coming to their state to hunt, for whatever reason. I want people to come here and hunt. Yeah. I want them to see, hey, we have good hunting opportunities here. Give us a try. You don't have to live here. Just come here and kill animals.
I would. I mean, I'd come down and see you, man.
Yeah, there's huge bears there now. Yeah.
Let's come and do a fall bear hunt.
Yeah, I'm in.
Me and Matt, we'll road trip it.
All right, come on down.
I dig it. No,
bring your Birkenstocks.
I'll call my buddy Guy and see if he'll send me a pair of his so I can borrow them. I'm too cheap to buy my own. So
they're expensive.
All right, guys, I appreciate it. Thanks again. That was a fun talk, and let's do it again soon. And thank you guys for tuning in.
All right, man. See you.
Thanks. See ya.
You made it all the way to the end. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. We sure appreciate your support. This is Jim Huntsman signing off and reminding you to check us out at Instagram at The Western Huntsman and on Facebook at The Western Huntsman. And you can also check out the website at thewesternhuntsman.com. Thanks again. We'll see you guys next time. Stay Western, and I'll see you on the mountain.